Alrighty, let's get started. So, any questions about anything so far? Anything we've done? We're good? Alright, so we're in week 5, right? Week 5. And we're already done with functions, all that good stuff. So this week we're going to practice things with functions, and I'll introduce sorting and the bubble sort. So let's get started with that. So first of all, there's a couple of things in there about what's an immutable string. Just to remind you, let's say if you have a string is equal to like hello, right? You can't go and do string 0 is equal to uppercase H, right? Can't do this because strings are immutable. Okay, so that means I can't go and change the individual letters, okay, just like I would with a list. And the way we had to do it was you have to convert the string to a list, right? You can do, instead of this, you could do string is equal to hello like this. That's fine. You're basically just assigning a new value to string. But you cannot change the individual elements of a string because it's immutable, okay? So this is okay. If you wanted to change a string, right? If you want to change a string, right? Turn it into a list first, okay? A string element. So, let me move this. And just real quick, it goes like string is equal to list string, right? And then you do, then let's say I wanted to go and change this to uppercase. I can say, and again, this thing has indexes just like normal, right? Index is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So I want to change the fourth one to uppercase. So I can say, all right, string 4 is equal to uppercase O, right? And then I can join it back again into a string. I say string is equal to quote quote dot join and then string, just like that. Okay, so when it's all said and done and I print string equals string, you're gonna hopefully see that we got the uppercase O, right? So I converted it to uppercase. So if you want to change an individual element, turn it into a list, right? So this is turn string into list, right? This is change the element, change element of the list, and then turn the string, turn the list back into a string, right? So I already covered this, but here you go again. So that's a string. Changing an element of a string, okay, by converting it to a list first and then turning it back into a string. Another thing that might come in very useful is string slices. So string slices, if you click on this little link here, you're going to see there's some examples, right? So let's say you have this string. I'll just copy the whole thing. All right, so I'm going to go in there, paste it. Alright, so just again, you have your string, you have the string index, and I can do these kind of things, right? So I can tell it, alright, go from element 1 to right before the element 4. So it will go 1, 2, 3. That's a slice, right? So I'm telling it pull a substring of this big string. Okay, those are the slices. Okay. So I can tell it where to start, where to end. This one tells it start at 0 and go to 1 before 2. So it will never include this last one. Okay? So I'm telling it go 0, 1. So that will show these two first two indexes, or these first two letters. Okay? If you don't believe it, let's run it. Alright, so those are your string slices. The first string slice, the second string slice. Any questions? Okay, for string slices, for string indexes, you have to worry about index out of range, right? So you could have, let's say this string here has four things, right? Only 4. And if I try to go and do a string 5 is equal to, I don't know, s, right? That's no good because we don't have a 5. It'll give me this list index out of range. Okay, so you can't do that to a string or a list. Okay, so this is bad. Bad. All right, because string or list index out of range. All right, so that's no good. All right, but with the actual slices, you don't have to worry about this kind of stuff. Okay, even if I went and I told it go to like 10, it's okay. It will only go and capture the slice as far as it can go. Right, so you don't have to worry about string index out of range errors when you do slices. Okay, that's one of the advantages. Okay, so don't have to worry about index out of range error with slices. Okay, so that's basically slices, and you can easily find things. You can say, all right, well, hold on, find me the last characters of a string, right? And I have some examples in there. Let's say, for example, this one right here. All right, let me just copy this whole thing because I don't want to type it. All right, uppercase S. All right, so I'm telling it go start at len of s minus 3, right? Which is start 3 to the left, right? And then I'm not giving it any end. So what that's going to do is it's going to tell it go all the way to the end. If you have a slice, like say I do this, then it'll start at the first index and it will go all the way to the end. Okay? So that's what I'm doing here. I'm telling it start at 3 from the left and then go all the way. Okay, all the way to the end. Okay, so if I run this, that should show me the last 3. Oops, name s not defined. Where's that s? There's no lowercase s. Oh, lowercase s is right here. One more time. Right, so that's how you show. If you wanted to, if you ever wonder how am I going to look at, like, say the last whatever of a string slices. Okay, any questions? All right, so if you omit the last, it will the second number for the slicing, it will go from wherever you told it to start to the end of the string. And similar, there is another one here where I have, let's say this one here. I'll just copy both of them so you can see them. All right, so there's these two. All right, this one tells it start. Actually, it will go to the one before the 2. Remember, the 2 is never included, and it will go all the way to the front. Right, start from the beginning and end at 1 before the 2. This one tells it start at the 2 and go all the way to the end. Okay, so if you omit these, that's what happens. If you omit the first number for the index, there's also this one here. If you want to quickly reverse a string, there's this. Right, so what you do is you do colon and then a -1, right? And that's a quick way to reverse a string. Of course, you can easily write a function to reverse a string. Okay, you don't even need this, but let's do it. Okay. By the way, how would you reverse a string? Let's do this. Let's say I want to write a function that reverses a string, right? So I have original is equal to Alex, right? And I want to reverse this thing, right? So df reverse string. It's going to take my original string, right? I'm going to start my loop backwards for I in range. Start at the end, length of original -1, right? Go to -1, which is go to the 0, go backwards, right? Let me test this thing first. So print orig I, right? I'm just going to show this thing in reverse, hopefully. Then I'm going to call my function reverse string, and I'm going to send the original which is I have all over there. Let's run it. Right? Shows you the string in reverse. Okay, now I just have to make some kind of a new string is equal to a blank string, and instead of showing this stuff to you, I'm just going to say new s plus equals that thing, right? And then when this whole thing is done, I'm just going to say, okay, return new s, right? And then here I can say, all right, reversed string, right? Damn it, click on the right place. All right, is equal to, and I'm going to call my function like this, and I'm going to show you print reversed string. All right, F5. There you go. Okay, not very hard for you to write these things that are in the language, right? And that's what I'm telling you. You should have the ability to do these instead of just looking up and how do I do this in Google. No, you should have the ability to write these things any different way. Right? I can tell you, move the 5th letter and put it at the end, or grab the 7th letter and put it at the front. Right? There's no special function in Python that does that, but you can write one yourself very easily. Okay? So all right, so this is the basic stuff with strings, and now I am going to show you something else. So I'm going to take out all these, all right, for now, because I don't want to see them again. All right, so what else I want to tell you is the bubble sort. Right? In the bubble sort, you can Google bubble sort. Right? And if you Google bubble sort, you're going to see this really cool example, right? So let's say you have a list of numbers, they're in no particular order, and what you're going to do is you're going to sort them. You're going to go with the smallest at the front and largest to the right. Okay? And the algorithm is very simple. You're basically going through every two things that are next to each other and you're comparing them. And if the one on the left is bigger than the one on the right, you swap their values. That's it, right? So when you do this one time, the biggest number is going to get moved all the way to the end, right? So is 8 bigger than 2? Yep, swap their values, right? So this is the first pass. So this thing that's happening right now is one for loop, right? So one for loop that goes through all the elements, compares the left to the right, and then now we moved all the biggest one all the way to the top, to the end. So that's the bubble sort. The biggest one bubbles to the top, right? And then we're going to go and we're going to repeat it one more time, the same thing we did, but now we know when we go all the way to the end, the second biggest number, or the 7, is going to get shifted in, where the 4 is, right? So if you repeat this basically as many times as there are numbers, you got yourself a sorted loop. A sorted list of things. Okay. So let's wait for it one more time. So 7 moves. All right, so this is my second pass. So basically I repeated that inner loop, the one that moves, compares two numbers to left to right and swaps. I repeated it 2 times, right? And so if you want to look at this in another form, you have a bunch of data scattered all over in the list, and then you gradually start sorting these numbers. So this is what it looks like graphically until it's all a straight line, right? That's what it is. And he starts top to bottom, right? That's the bubble sort. Okay, so the bubble sort is actually, so it is the simplest to write sorting algorithm, or the simplest conceptually to think about. There's some other ones that are improvements over this. The efficiency of this algorithm is O(n) squared. And this efficiency, you're going to learn about how to measure these and, what it is, but basically it's, if you want to measure one algorithm and compare it to another algorithm, the way you measure their efficiency is with O(n) squared. Why is it n squared? Because you have one loop that happens n times, and then in it you have another loop that happens n times, so n times n is n squared. That's the worst, right? The worst performing sorting algorithm is n squared. There's other ones, like there's select sort, there's insert sort, there's shell sort, there's all kinds of different ones, right? And they're all better than this. But this is the easiest one to write, so I'm going to start you with this, and you're going to have to use this for the rest of the semester. Okay, you're going to have to do sorting, and again, you don't get to do things like, sort, and then it sorts the whole thing, right? There's a built-in function in Python called sorted, And if you just use that, you get a big fat 0, right? I want you to know how to do these things. Okay, just like I want you to be able to reverse things if you have to. Okay? Anyway, so first of all, let me show you the swap business, right? So how to swap two values, right? So let's say I have my value A is equal to 10 and value B is equal to 20, right? And what I want to do is want to swap the values so that A is equal to 20 and B is equal to 10. All right? Can you tell me how to do that? You don't have to all tell me at once. You can take turns. No? Okay, so if I do something like this, if I say A is equal to B, what happens? I have A is equal to 20 and I have B is equal to 20. So I lost the value of A, right? Similarly, if I went and I did, well, I'm going to do B is equal to A, right? Then what happens is B is equal to 10 and A is equal to 10. So now I lost the value of B, right? So what do you think I have to do? Yeah?
Isn't it the other way around?
What?
Lost the value of B and lost the
B
value
is equal to A, so lost.
A is 20 and B is 10.
That's right. So I lost the value of B and lost the value of A. Correct. Okay? But either way, I'm losing one of them, right? I got two 20s or two 10s. So what do I have to do? Yes?
Make a third value.
Make a third variable and store this information in it, right? So before I do this, I can do either this or this, no problem. But before I do it, right, before I lose the value of A, I'm going to say, all right, lost the value of A. No, I'm losing the value of. So this one loses the value of A, this loses the value of B, right? Because you have two 10s here, B was 20, so you lost the value of that, right? Here you have two 20s, so you lost the value of A. So I was right. Okay? All right. So the next thing is you said make another variable. I'm going to call it temp, right? Temporary variable. And since I'm going to be losing the value of B if I do this, I'm just going to say B, right? Temp is equal to B. So what happens? Now temp is equal to 20. So I start the value of B somewhere. I can do this. Now they're both, 10 and 10. And then the next thing I got to do is say A is equal to B, temp, right? So now A is equal to 20 and B is equal to 10, which is my original goal. Okay? So how do we swap a value? You add a temp variable, right? So swapping a value by adding a temp variable. Okay? All right. So now we understand how to swap. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I only want to swap values. Remember, so I want to only swap values if the left is bigger than the right. Right? So I'm not gonna do this by default. Right? So let's say this is my left and this is my right. Right? So I'm only gonna do this if my A is bigger than my B. That's when I'm gonna do the swap. Okay? That'll be the idea. All right. So let's just focus on the swap. So this is your swap right here. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is, now we understand how to do the swap. Let's do a list. So let's say I have a C is equal to 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright? Alright, so what I'm trying to do is want to sort C into 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I want to sort it like that. Alright. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check, so only swap if the left is bigger than the right. Okay, so I'm going to go and look at my indexes, alright, one more space, right? Index 0, 1, 2, 3, right? These are my indexes. So I'm going to be doing these first two, right? So the 0 and the 1. The left one is the 0, the right one is the 1. Okay, so if my left is C0 is bigger than my right, C1, then I'm going to do the swap thing, which is I tell it C or temp is equal to C0, right? And then C0 is equal to C1, and then C1 is equal to temp. Okay? So far so good? So this is my swap if the left is bigger than the right. And if you're not convinced, let's show the C before and after. So I'm going to throw a print in here too. Print C. Alright, and let's have a look. So there you go. You can see that it moved the 4 to the right. Okay? And then I have to go and do this again. So alright, so I did the first two. Now I got to grab the second two. So I'm just going to copy this whole thing. I'm going to paste it. Alright, and I'm going to change my 1 to 2. Alright, so every time I see it, so I'm doing now these two in the middle. Alright, these two values is the 1 and the 2. So the easiest thing is I'm just going to change the 1 to 2 first. This is a 2. This is a 2, and then you go and change your 0 to 1. Alright. There you go. Alright, so now hopefully if this still works, now the 4 should move right here where the 2 is. So I run it again. Yep, so good. So far so good. Now I go and do it one more time. Alright. Paste. Alright, so now I'm doing these two right here, the 2 and the 3, the last two. And notice how I chose a small little easy to manage list. I'm not going to try to sort a list of 50 the first time I'm writing this. Okay. Alright, and then by the way, I'm doing similar thing to what you hopefully had to do with the students problem, with the one with the lockers. Remember how I told you, do it for the first two and do it for the second, do it for the third, okay, the fourth maybe. Now do it for the last one. See what happens, see the pattern. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to show you what the pattern is. So now I'm going to the last one, and then I chose a small easy list so that I can go easily through the last one. So the last two are the 2 and the 3, so I'm just going to change my 2 to 3. Alright, 3, 3, and then my 1 to 2, 2, 2, 2. Right? And then hopefully if it still works, if I run it, there you go. I moved the 4 all the way to the right. Okay, but this is for a list of 3 things. I don't know if I'm going to, or 4 things. I don't know if I'm going to have 4 things. Maybe I'm going to have 500 things or 500,000 things. Okay, so whatever I did should hold true for any size list. So now I gotta turn this into a loop that will generalize this. Right? So, and again, the pattern is this right here will show you what the pattern of the thing is. So let's say I want to go and I'm going to call this. Oops. I'm going to call this. I don't know. I'll call it I. Okay. So this is I. All right. This is also I. Okay, so what can you tell about I? Right? For a list of 4 things, the index goes from 0 to 3, right? But my I goes from 0, 1, 2. Right? So if I was to generalize this thing, 0 is always 0, right? But what is the 2 in terms of length? Which is what? LEN of C minus what? What's the length of the thing? 4 things. Right? If you don't believe it, print LEN of C. When in doubt, show it to yourself. Right? The easiest thing to do is just throw a little print in there, show the thing to yourself. Alright? And see it one more time. And length of C is 4, right? So if I'm trying to get the 2, what do I have to do to length of C? Minus what? 2. Okay. Alright, so now I know that I'm going to have a loop I'm going to make a loop which starts my I as 0, and it makes the I go to this, right? So I go in there and I do, all right, let's just test that. So for I in range, I'm not even going to do anything else. I'm just going to start this thing. So I started I at 0, and it's supposed to go to length of C minus 2, right? Let me just write it just like exactly like I have it, right? Because I don't know any better. But that's okay. I'm just going to run my program and show it to myself if anything is wrong. So I equals I, right? Let's see if I got my values of I to be 0, 1, 2. Run it. No, it went to 0 and 1. Why is that? Because my loop already goes to 1 less than, than this. So what do I have to do? len minus what? Minus 1. Okay, so it showed me 0, 1, right? That's 1 less than I needed, so I'll change it from minus 2 to minus 1. Run again. 0, 1, 2. Okay, did I get the values of I that I need? 0, 1, 2. Perfect. Okay, now I have a general loop to do this for me. I got to just go and grab this thing here. I'm going to copy it. All right, throw this in there. All right, and then I said this is going to be my I. Anytime I see a 0, I'm changing that to an I. So what do you think is going to be the, what do I have to change the 1 to?
I plus 1.
All right, I plus 1. All right, if this is a 0 and this is 1, and I is what you use to show that number, just add 1 to I. All right, so whenever you see an I, 1, it goes I plus 1, I plus 1. Right? So now when I run this loop, right, this loop should do what these 3 things did right here, if I wrote it right, which was to grab the 4 and put it all the way to the end. Okay? Run it again. Keep your fingers crossed. There you go. I moved the 4 all the way to the end. Any questions? Alright, so the next thing I want to do is I got to keep doing this, right? So I'm just going to go and repeat the process. I'm just going to grab this whole for loop, and now I'm going to try to do just like I established one pattern here, right? So that I can write this loop. Now I'm going to try to establish another pattern. So remember, I had to repeat this loop a certain number of times. How many times? I don't know. Let's copy paste it a few times. See what happens. So run it one more time. F5. Now the 3 moves. Okay? And then I'm going to grab it one more time. There's only one more left, there's only 2 more left, so if I grab the biggest one and now move it here, they're sorted. But I don't know that. I can't see that far ahead. I'm just going to run it 3 times. One more time. Now the list is sorted. Okay? So again, this is my pattern. Alright? And what do I see for my pattern? For a list of 4 elements, I had to repeat the bottom loop 3 times, right? Which is pretty much the same thing that I had to do for this loop here, right? So this loop had to happen 3 times. That's why I told it to go 1 less than the length of the thing. Right? So this happens, loop that happens 3 times. So I could literally, I'm just going to grab one of these. I'm going to get this one. I'm going to throw it at the bottom. And I'm going to make another loop here for j in range. And I'm going to copy that whole thing here because I don't want to type it. Right? Because I want this loop to happen as many times as this other one, except the outer loop changes the inner loop. How many times the inner loop is going to happen. Okay, it doesn't really change anything. Okay, so if I run it this way, now I should still get the same result as before, or the numbers sorted. Okay, so far so good? Any questions? That's your bubble sort, right? This here is bubble sort. Okay? So what I expect of you is to be using the bubble sort anytime you need to sort something. you're going to be using coding bat a whole lot, which is this web page that lets you just write the functions, right? And in my instructions, you're going to notice that I tell you you're not allowed to use sort or sorted or any of these other things, right? So you have to write the bubble sort if you want to sort something, okay? You can write your own sort function, right? No problem. So, but let's just, yeah, why don't I go and I grab this thing here, right? And I'm going to do a make a sort function. That's not that hard. I just go and I say, all right, df sort original list, all right? And then I'm going to do paste that thing in there, all right? And instead of original list, yeah, let me copy it. I'm going to copy this, change this, and this, and anytime I see this, damn it, I'm going to have to do it a bunch of times, but it's okay. So this, come on, that, and that, right? I changed them all, I think. Alright, so what I'm going to do is, let's say I'm going to make D is equal to 10, 20, 1, 3, 5, 0, I don't know, 99. Okay, so that's a list. I want this thing sorted. Okay, so I'm going to go in there, I'm going to say, alright, D is equal to, oh, and I got to return the list. Return D, right? Or no, D. Original list. Return this, right? So D is equal to sort D, right? Print D. Let me show it to you before and after. Print D. All right. Run again. Ta-da! Alright, how hard is it to make a function to sort things for you? You don't have to go and Google it. How do I sort in Python? Yeah, write your own. Okay? Same thing for everything else. If you need to do a sum, write the sum function yourself. So I expect you to be able to write them yourself. Any questions? We're good? Alright. So now that you know how to do the bubble sort, what you have to do is you have to go and play around with these things. Coding bat. Alright, you have a bunch of things in there. So there's one where you're supposed to do, let's click the link, see what you're supposed to do. Okay, so this one tells you, all right, we're having this function called string times, and it has two parameters, a string and some kind of a number. What the function is going to return is, basically, if this is a 2, it's going to return 2 copies of this string. If it's a 3, it's going to be returning 3 copies of string, right? So for 1, it's 1. All right, so what do? Well, it's easy, right? This is your string. This is how many times we're going to repeat the string. I can just say, all right, new string is equal to some blank string. I can say for I in range from 0 to n, steps of 1, I'm going to do new string plus equals the old string. So all right, just keep adding the old string a bunch of times to it. Make sense? Hopefully. And you just say return, because that's what the function is supposed to do. It's supposed to return a larger string that is n copies of the original string. Okay, so return US. Alright, hit go. And if it's all good, you get all green here. So what do you do for the assignments? You take a picture of this, you put the picture of everything green. So I want a picture of, you know, the whole thing. So use the snipping tool if you're on Windows. Use your little clipboard shortcut if you're on a Mac, right? Take a picture of this whole thing, and then go, let me show you what the picture is supposed to be. Alright, you get a bunch of these pictures, you put them all inside one Word file, and you submit that to me. Okay? So that's what you have to do. And there's a few other ones. There's an extra and, there's make tags, there's a combo string, there's count code, there's XYZ there, right? So those are the different ones you have to do. And it's all the same way that I just showed you. You're going to write the function, right? You're going to write the function. You're not going to write the call itself, right? You don't have to go and do, oh, well, string underscore times and then call it. No, the web page itself does all that for you. So it automates the testing. All right? You can't use, so you're not going to call the functions, these functions, the ones that you write, you're not going to write them in there. You're not going to call them. You also cannot use print, right? So it's just the way, it's part of the web page. The way they have written it, you cannot use anything print, right? If I do something like this, print str, and I try to run it, it'll tell you, don't print computer internal result value. So you cannot use the print in there. If you want to use this, if you really do, then you can copy this whole thing, right? Throw it in idle, right? And then troubleshoot it in idle if you want, right? Then in here you can call it. You can say, all right, string underscore times, and I'm going to give it hi, and then I'm going to give it like 5, and then I'm going to call it from inside of a print, right? That's pretty much what they're doing, right? And then when I run this thing, that's what it is, right? But if you want to troubleshoot, and if you want to go in there and show yourself what, the original string is, like that, this kind of stuff, put it in idle and then test it from idle. Okay? So that's the limitations of coding bat, but everything else is good. All right, so these the first 1, 2, 3 are pretty easy. The fourth one is pretty easy. The fifth one is a little bit more challenging, and the sixth one is the most challenging. All right, the sixth one is probably the most challenging of all the coding bat exercises. Okay, but you got to do it. Okay, if you want 60 points, you got to give me all 6 of them. Okay, so submit all functions as one file coding bat. So when you write your functions, the way I did, throw it. You don't have to test them. You can just put the functions, right? Put them all in one file. Just in the beginning, we're going to do this, and then later on, you don't have to do that. You just have to give me the screenshots. But for now, give me the code of the function inside of the some kind of a py file. All right, call it coding bat py, and then also Word or some kind of a document with 6 screenshots in it. You can give me a zip file if you want. Throw all 6 screenshots in it. Okay. So that's what you got to do for today. That is your coding bat for today, and there's going to be more of that on Wednesday, and it will have to do with sorting, which is what I showed you today, and there's going to be more of that on Friday, which is all extra credits. I don't know why I made it all extra credit. Maybe I'll change it. Okay? Cigar party. No, that's not going to be extra credit. Sorry. This one could be extra credit. Extra credit. Alright. Save that. So this is not extra credit. And 3. Yeah, so no extra credit for this. Let me see if the link broke, because that's how Canvas is. Change one little thing and it breaks the link. Ah, it works. All right, cool. So there you go. So that's what you got to do for this week. Next week, I believe we got a midterm. And what do you have to do for the midterm? You're going to be doing these kind of things. You're going to have to understand how to do functions. You should be able to know, you should know how to debug a program without using idle. So if I give you the code, you look at the code, you can tell me, oh, that's what's wrong with the code, right? So those are the kind of things you're going to do, but you need to know functions, you need to know your functions, and you need to know your loops and ifs and else's and that kind of stuff, okay? So basically everything up to that point, and it's already open, so you can take it if you're ahead of the class, okay? So that's what I have in mind for this week and next week. So if you want, get started. Let me know if you need help, and I'll post these notes and video for you.